Welcome to Dashing Depths Nursing Insights, the podcast where we simplify clinical governance, patient safety, and clinical research for nurses at every stage of their career. Today, we are looking at one of the most underestimated parts of keeping patients safe, something we rely on constantly but rarely stop to think about: communication. I'm not on about formal communication, not meetings, not paperwork, but the everyday communication that happens between healthcare professionals, moment by moment, shift after shift. That's where safety is either strengthened or weakened. Why communication matters. In healthcare, communication is one of the most powerful tools we have. It can keep patients safe, support staff, improve care, build trust, and prevent harm. Yet, most patient safety incidents, when reviewed, include some elements of miscommunication. Whether tiny or major, often the root isn't a knowledge gap, it is an information gap. Here are some examples of communication failures. We need to understand that communication failures rarely look dramatic. They look like a rushed handover, a missing detail, a misunderstood instruction, an assumption, a note written unclearly, information shared too late or not shared at all. They're usually invisible until something goes wrong. Here are some micro failures in communication. A nurse assumes someone else will check the vitals. A doctor assumes nursing staff have escalated concerns. A physiotherapist doesn't know the patient deteriorated. A HCA assumes the nurse is aware of false risks. Someone hears half the handover and someone forgets to pass on a change. No one intends harm, but harm can happen all the same. Here are some subtle consequences of poor communication: medication delay, missed observation, incorrect treatments, patient deterioration unnoticed, unnecessary admissions, avoidable deterioration, and avoidable distress. Sometimes the consequences is small and unnoticed. Sometimes it lives in a clinical incident report. Sometimes it becomes a tragedy. Let's imagine a common situation. A patient becomes unstable overnight. The night shift is stretched. The nurse notes concerns, but the morning handover is rushed. Hence, the incoming nurse assumes the patient is stable. Observations are delayed, no escalation at all, and no communication. Hours pass. Later, a deterioration could have been managed sooner becomes a crisis. No one intended harm. Everyone was trying, but the communication didn't match the clinical reality. This is how safety fails, quietly. Why does this happen? Because healthcare environments are busy, pressured, tax-heavy, unpredictable, emotionally demanding, and communication is the first thing that suffers under pressure. Not because staff don't care, but because the mental bandwidth becomes limited. As a patient safety principle, clear communication strengthens safety, teamwork, confidence, decision-making, patient outcomes, professional relationships. It reduces assumptions, fear, errors, defensiveness, blame, uncertainty. Excellent communication supports everyone. Here's one rule that improves patient safety dramatically. Never assume information has been received. Check it has been communicated. even if you think the other person already knows, even if you are busy, even if it feels unnecessary. 10 seconds now can save hours later. Here are some communication tools that improve safety daily. The use of S-bar, repeats back, clarifying questions, escalation phrases, safety huddles, planned handovers, written and verbal communications combined, senior support availability when needed. These small tools prevent big errors. Here's what you can start today. One practical strategy you can begin immediately. At the end of any significant verbal handover, ask, before I go, is there anything unclear? Those 6 words open doors. They prevent gaps, they show respect, they reassure colleagues, and they protect patients. The key learning here is communication isn't about talking, it's about clarity, because clarity protects patients and clarity protects staff. Good communication is not a luxury, it's a clinical skill, a safety skill, a leadership skill, an emotional skill, and an essential one. The safest organizations aren't the ones without incidents, they are the ones who communicate openly, clearly, and early. Culture is built through communication. Safety is maintained through communication. Trust is strengthened through communication. And care is delivered through communication. Thank you for listening to Dashing Depth Nursing Insights. I hope today's episodes help deepen your understanding of how communication contributes to patient safety. If this episode offered value, follow the podcast and share it with someone who works in healthcare. And as always, stay safe, stay reflective, and keep striving for better care.